I have made this case so many times, and you've heard of Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
If I told you they were a niche band, would you be prepared to argue that?
I could call them, you could call them a blues band if you wanted.
All I'm suggesting is that if you look at the realities of the music industry, Michael Jackson's album Thriller, at my last count that I'm aware of, was over 52 million copies. That's one record.
Amazing.
Led Zeppelin's entire catalog has sold about 80 million copies. So their entire almost 40-year career doesn't even double the sales of one Michael Jackson album. But does that make Led Zeppelin unsuccessful?
No, not at all. I'd take a third, eighth, 16th of what they've done.
Now,
but you have to look at what they've done. They did exactly what they wanted to do. We're a blues band that knows how to turn things really loud.
There you go.
And they were true to it. They didn't stray from it. They knew that if that's what they did, and they did it right, and they did it with conviction, it was going to sell. And it has.
You know, I've had the pleasure of interviewing so many stars over the years, and one of my highlights, obviously, being a Led Zeppelin guy, I'm the Jimmy Page worshiper here, but I got to interview John Paul Jones.
Fantastic.
And as we were talking, we got on the subject of live performances, and I'm known for shooting straight, and I'll ask John Paul Jones the same kind of questions I'd ask you or anyone else, and I said, you know, Zepp had some pretty bad nights. You guys were, you know, there were some shows that were pretty bad. How do you react to that? And he said, you know, it's true. There were nights where we were awful, but I got to tell you, the nights when we were on, I truly believe we were the greatest rock band ever.
That's what you strive for. Why even get on stage if you can't shoot for that?
I think that illustrates what you're talking about. And of course, you haven't achieved quite to their level, but you have that same perspective, which is, yeah, we have bad nights. Sure. But boy, when we're doing what we do, it's special.
When it works.
It works.
It's fantastic.
Now, I was talking to Rose a little bit, who kind of handles, I guess she... I don't know what her title is.
I don't know what her title is.
Helper, friend, compadre.
Fantastic helper, that's for sure.
Fantastic helper, I'm sure. And she's been, thank you, Rose, she was very helpful in getting this all set up. But she suggested something about some out-of-town stuff. I didn't know if that was personal or the band or what you guys were doing.
I've been trying to take things conquer where you are before you conquer what's next. I won't be happy until we are able to sustain ourselves here and then branch out to the next spot, after that. Even if that's from here to Greensburg, and then get Greensburg to know who you are, and then to Cleveland, and let Cleveland know who you are. But it's definitely
well, then let's talk about
conquering each step as you go, leaving a trail of positive reinforcement.
At the end of the day, it seems to me you understand this basic tenet, which is that you can get your stuff out there electronically or what have you, but at the end of the day, really, when it's... I can tell you from personal experience how many artists have converted me into a fan through their performance.
Yeah, you have to show them what you can do.
When I walk out of your shows, I felt like, wow, they gave me quite a bit more in my cover charge.
I hope so.
You know, I got something. They respected their audience. Is that important to you?
Definitely. I mean, I don't want you to feel like you're... I want you to become part of the show. You, as anyone who's in front of us. No one should feel excluded. It should be, you know, young, old, young, dirty punk rocker to little R&B kid to whoever. You should be able to be like, wow, that was cool. And not have to draw a line like, oh, that's just not my thing. No, anyone can like good music. Good music's good music.
One of the things I like about you guys as a band is that you don't remind me of anybody specifically. You would remind me of a genre.
Sure.
You would remind me of a certain style. But I've never gone to one of your shows, I've never listened to one of your songs and said, boy, that's too bad, that sounds so much like fill in the blank.
Sure. And it's kind of scary because every song I write is a complete rip-off of something else. You sit down like, oh, I really, I've been listening to a lot of Nirvana. How can I do a song like Nirvana? Actually, we're working on some new music now. And I've had Van Halen and AC/DC in my head. And not bad places to go. But, I wrote a couple songs, I gave them to the guys, and they're looking at me, and I was like, does it sound too much like Van Halen? They look at me like I'm insane. Like, that doesn't sound anything like that.
Well, and here's the other thing. Even though in your head maybe that's what you're hearing, they're hearing, and that's where that dynamic we were talking about earlier is coming in. Just because you're hearing it one specific way doesn't necnecessarily mean the guitar player, the bass player, drummer are going to hear that as well. They're going to maybe have their own take on it.
Sure.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Definitely. I want a starting point and a middle point and an end point. That's how a song should be. It should have a life. It should be able to grow, and it should grow with everyone else putting their 2 cents worth into it.
It makes good sense. Well, now you brought up that you're writing new material. I'm guessing you guys are thinking already about recording another album.
I'm figuring 5 songs. It'll be an EP. I'll call it Blue to be the companion to the Red record. Yeah.
Why not? It's come down to that, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you get to that point where I worked so long on this record. I mean, it was completely recorded. I recorded everything. Wrote it all. We recorded... Oh, Rose, who's a wonderful woman, let me have the drum kit in my dining room for like 3 months to get that right sound, and it worked. And we were very lucky to get what we got. But... there's that lull when you're like, well, we finished it, now we got to actually put it out, now we have to try to sell it, we have to try to make people know that it's available. How do you get the world to know that it's there? Well, at that same point, you can get lazy, and I don't want to get lazy. So I figured let's keep writing while I have it in my head, while you guys have the time.
Keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Keep the momentum up. Do you have anything coming up that you're excited about? Any performances?
In June, we are going to do a show. God, I have to remember what they're called. It's a group of. It's called Electronic Saviors. It's a record this is, I believe, their second or third Electronic Saviors. It's a compilation of industrial bands, which I hate to kind of put myself in that genre.
But there you are. That means anymore.
Someone's got to put a monkey air on top of it. A group of these people who have all contributed to track, national all the way down to us on a local level. But the whole thing is to sponsor cancer research.
Beautiful. And
there's premiere parties all over the country, and we're playing the one.
So you guys
we're doing the one in
awesome.
Pittsburgh, and that to me that's just great. It's an excuse to do something fun. It was an excuse to write a new song. We weren't allowed to give them anything you
couldn't do something.
Yeah, it couldn't be anything previously recorded. So I went in. I did it all by myself. I don't even think there's a guitar part on it. I just put it together in an afternoon, sang it the next day, and handed it in. Because it's nice to have a studio in your life.
Worried about getting lazy.
Yeah.
The last band that I played in, which everyone's like, you're kidding, because I'm known as a rock guitarist. My last job was a reggae band. But as I've said, I get paid to play guitar.
Sure.
Not do what I want to do.
And the bills never stop coming in.
And no, they don't. And but the thing that I took away from reggae was the sense of discipline that I never had in my playing. Because reggae guitar is literally in every aspect the opposite of rock guitar. Everything about it's the opposite. Your beat is off. Rock is 2/4.
Oh yeah.
1/3.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole other...
I was in a funk band for the longest time with some great guys, great players, but everything's on the one. Nothing matters but the one. You can do whatever you want for the 2, 3, and 4, but if you're not back on the one, you've got everything's falling apart. Yeah, you learn those different disciplines. It's great.
And hasn't that helped you, though, as a creative person?
Yeah.
Do you find at any moments, do you sort of crack yourself up and go, oh my God, I'm drawing from something I did 20 years ago? Or
you'll sit there and you'll think about, just the most obscure music that you can think of, but how can I relate it to how I'm writing a straight ahead rock song?
Exactly.
And you're thinking, well, I heard that Sinatra arrangement. You'll laugh at me. Barry White, his string arrangements are so perfect They're so perfect. And, you don't think about how that's going to work, but you think in the background, three layers deep on your song, you want a little bit of lushness. There's where you go to learn.
And as we were talking about earlier with Venus and Furs, you guys have a keyboard player, so you have that dynamic available to you.
There's a lot. I try to make it very. The dynamic is everything to me. The song's got to have. If you can't start at the same point that you end at, a song should start somewhere, move somewhere else. I love the left turn because you're not going to the same place. I could go straight to the chorus, but I think we won't this time.
Let's go over here a minute.
Yeah, there's to take that different trip. It challenges the musician, and it kind of challenges who's in front of you.
Now, just to kind of bring things full circle, you've got this show that you're very excited about in June. You're working on new material. Anything else come to mind that we maybe didn't touch on today?
Feel free to check out the website. Some great video work that we have up. www.venusandfursrocks.com. And
don't worry about it, kids. We'll have all this information easy to find.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have what we have. Trying to the more people who know it, the more people can enjoy it. And support all your local bands. Local bands are really, that's where real bands come from.
That's where it all
starts. They are real bands.
And just on that point, Brad Whitford, the guitarist in Aerosmith, said to me, he said, Vinny, it's funny, when we first hit with Dream On, they were using the term overnight sensation.
Yeah.
And he said, we were banging in clubs for 5 years. It was a night that lasted 5 years for us.
There is no such thing as an overnight.
There's no such thing. That's right. There's a lot of work that goes into it that they don't see. Pick up the latest CD from Venus and Furs. It's called Red. And make sure you check out the shows because they're a great band. They're a lot of fun. You're going to have a really good time. You're going to see something. You're going to hear something. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming in and talking to us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.